Okay, we're live with Investor Thrive Underwriting Hour, April 21st, 2022. We waiting on some people to join, but hope everyone's having a beautiful day. Hello. How are we today?
Hey.
All right, let me see. Somebody sent me a form. I don't know. Let's see here. Ooh.
How's it going?
Hey, Dalton, or whoever it is. Is that you, Chandler? What's going on?
Not much.
Working from home today. You're not in the office.
Yeah, it's not.
Let me see. Two-story Tim's. Let's see. John Metz, I don't know if you're out there listening, and I don't know if you got your property underwritten already. Providence is in PA, though. Dalton, you know about PA. Okay. Alrighty. Let me see 1 second. Make sure I'm. All right. Let me see. Okay, so I have a couple of deals I'm going to underwrite. Let's see.
What do you mean by underwrite? Like close them?
Just like analyze the deal, see where the numbers are at, and see if based on the information that we have. I mean, I'm looking at stuff that some of my guys are doing right now.
Do you still find your own deals, or you just do other people's?
No, I'm always looking for stuff, making offers. I mean, we have acquisitions guys that take the calls, and they're doing like off-market stuff. I make a lot of offers on the MLS and then through some other like platforms. So, okay.
But you don't call or text or.
I do less at this time, but I definitely do. And then I also help to disposition the deals that we don't want to keep. So that would be basically you got under contract. So we have relationships with other buyers in other markets that we may not want to pull the trigger on, and then we would reach out to them and say, hey, you want to walk this property? Give us a price, and if it makes sense, then we would assign the rights and move forward with it that way. So, we, again, try to take down everything we can, which is buy it and either relist it or keep it as a rental. And if not, if it makes more sense to wholesale it, then we would do that as well. So I'm focused more on, like I said, more on market acquisitions and underwriting stuff for my team, as well as anybody that's like in our all-in-one program. Look at their deals and make sure that they're at numbers that make sense, so that if the person agrees and signs the contract, right, that it actually is a contract that somebody could sell or that somebody would be interested in, because what we found, and the reason why we created that all-in-one program for $99 is because people are in places, in states, cities, I don't know, whatever you want to say, that are hard to do a deal in no matter what the numbers are. And then also bringing us stuff in markets that are good, but it's like way too high. And part of it is inexperience, which is fine. And part of it's just not understanding, like, well, what are some other costs associated with buying the property, and such. So the idea for this call is, but see, we have 2 calls. So Scott's on in the morning. So I think most of the people, really turn to him, so they can get their day going. This is kind of middle of the day for people, right? But yeah, so that's what I mean by underwrite. Make sure that it's a deal that somebody could sell, whether that's me or you or whoever, right? Like, if it's a deal, right? I mean, now in theory, right, if you have a good deal, you should be able to disposition it fairly easily, but and that's true. But yeah, I mean, that's like a separate side of the business, right? Acquisitions is enough of a struggle. If you buy the list, skip trace it, dial it, do all that, or you spend money on Google Ads. If that's your sole focus, then dispo is truly another business. There's companies like Keegley and other places that they only sell deals for the most part, and there's other institutional buyers. They help connect people with end users, and that's just their entire business model. So that it's a skill in and of itself.
So how long have you been in real estate? Like you've been
a couple years. So I didn't have any real estate experience prior. But,
okay.
Yeah, so I don't have a license or anything. You don't have to have a license to buy and sell properties. But yeah, I had really nothing. Yeah, no. I mean, I had a general understanding, but didn't know anything about it. So yeah, the last couple of years, just been learning and putting stuff into action. We have some people that work for us that don't have any sales or real estate experience, so it's not necessarily a requirement to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Damon, you there?
Oh, I was here. I didn't know it was
unmuted. What's going on?
All right. I just wanted to get exact information from you about what I needed again, because I was trying to see right yesterday, and I think I missed some pertinent information you were giving me. But I wanted to make sure I had all the proper information to ask this potential seller.
Okay.
For the seller financing.
You need expenses. So I guess in that subcategory, you'd want to know, are you the owner paying for these utilities? And then what kind of other expenses, whether that be like maintenance, taxes, what are some set expenses that the seller pays?
All right.
I can't remember. Were those duplexes, or is it a single family or a
single family?
Okay. Well, if you ever come across duplexes and stuff like that, you'd want to know if utilities are split. Like, is there 2 electrical boxes? Is there 2 water meters? Stuff like that. As far as that goes, this one's single family, so that's not important. What else would you need? You would want to know the rent, the information about the tenant, as far as their contractual obligation. So you would want to know the leasing agreement. When does it expire? What are they paying? And then, yeah, of course, like, again, what are they responsible for? Do they put utilities in their name? Do they have any, or does the owner pay for them? So those are important. You would also need, if they had a mortgage, you would need the mortgage information, right?
No mortgage.
Yeah, exactly. You told me that yesterday. So PITI is, you just get a copy of the mortgage statement if you could. If not, you would want to know the principal amount, the date that the loan would expire, the interest rate, the type of the loan in order to run the numbers. You also are going to need to know, well, I mean, really, you're going to need to know if there's repairs, of course, right? All the general other wholesaling questions, right? Like all that information. And then you also would want to know, what is he comfortable with, right? How much money down does he want? I wouldn't say down, right? I would say, what are your immediate cash needs? What's the length of time that they would be comfortable with so that you can structure it. And if they're like, I don't know, well, then how am I supposed to structure something for them? Or how would you, right? No, you can't do that. So you got to know, what are you comfortable with? And then, that's pretty much it. And then you would take that information and, structure something. So
now with the tenant in place, how would that work though? Even though, I know you said find out when the agreement is up and, what responsibilities is on the tenant or the owner. But if there is a lease in place with the current tenant, how would that work? Is that an obstacle, or is that something that can easily be overcome?
It could be, because some end buyers would prefer to receive a unit vacant, and if they don't receive a vacant, then they're just not going to offer something that probably, something that would be, competitive offer, I guess you'd say. So, I mean, it depends. If the tenant is paying like close to market rent and, and the buyer was allowed to walk it, right, and feel good about it and go, okay, they inspect it, right? It really just depends on the situation. It could be an obstacle. It may not be. If the numbers are good and it's cash flowing, then, I mean, most investors that are buy and hold are not going to, they may, again, it's case by case. Some will not buy a property that has a tenant inside because they didn't vet them, and that's a potential headache or an issue for them, right? Others just strictly look at the numbers, and it's a risk tolerance for different people. So I can't say that definitively. In my opinion, vacant is always better, but there's plenty of investors that will take it with a tenant inside. But they're going to want to know the leasing agreement, right? Like, you're not going to be able to sell the deal if you can't produce all the things I said, whether that be the rent roll. The rent roll would be if there was multiple units, but in this case, the rental agreement, and then all the other information I wrote down. So, I mean, that's because you don't want to, because he could just go into it with you, right, and be like, well, what kind of interest rate are you offering? What kind of terms, and that's fine. So, but you need to, if he's going to provide that information, then, so I would say, like, other information you want to know is, if he mentions interest rate, I would take note of it, right? If he's like, oh, I want 3%, or I'm going to need 10%. So you would take note of those things, right? What's the length amount of time he would hold the note for? What is he comfortable with? I mean, other stuff you would want to know would be like situational based on the deal. Like, hey, if I give you 5 years, can I get 18 months, before the first payment so I can recoup some cash? If everything else is just situational. So it's like hypothetical at that point. But because if it needs, if it needs repairs, right? Say, well, he may want 20,000 down, and say, well, I can do 20,000, but I'm going to put 10,000 down towards the maintenance of this, and this. And then you get the remaining 10, and then you give me 5 years, principal only payments, which would be ideal, right? Principal only is better for you. But again, it's really just looking at what is the rent, and what is the cash flow. So, because I think yesterday we played with numbers a little bit, didn't we?
A little bit. I know I told you that when I did the comps, and I can give you the comps that I used, and you can probably determine.
Well, I was looking at it from like a long term. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Do you have any of the information about what it would rent for?
Well, he said it's rented for $12.50 right now to the current tenant, but he said you can probably get, I think, up to I think he said maybe 15.
Okay, let's look at it. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
All right. It looks like. Hold on a second.
I'm gonna mute my phone for a minute. 1 second.
Okay.
I'm back.
Okay, let me see. I don't know why. Let me share my. Where's my Zoom tab? Where did my Zoom go? Hold on one second. Maybe it's because I'm in here. Let me see. Share. What the heck, man? Okay. Let me see. I'm streaming on StreamYard over here, and I want to make sure they're looking at a blank screen. Hold on one second. I don't know why it's doing that. All right, one second. Let me stop sharing. All right. Why is it not sharing my screen on this feed?
I see something. I don't know.
No, I know. So I'm trying to share my shared screen, but I can't. I guess I can't do that. On my other streaming service, but that's fine. All right. Well, I'll just end it. Yeah, it's fine. So okay. So I remember 140 was the target price, right?
You said roughly 140.
And then what did you say? 12? What did you say for rent?
He said 1250. I think he's currently getting at the moment.
1250. Let's say 250. Somebody's picking this up. Maybe they'll use cash. Maybe they won't. Probably put 30% down. Most people do. Let's say they keep a rental, property management in the Northeast, so it's going to be a little higher. And then repairs, I think you said
about 10. He said a paint job, but he said he probably needs about 10. He just estimated that.
Yeah. So if a 10 is going to tell you, that guy's going to tell you 10, right? So these numbers are not that sexy. I mean, cap rate. This was small. I mean, it wasn't it's a decent sized town. I don't know what exactly what is expected in that market. I would think that 5.5 for a cash on cash, it's just that's not exciting, right? But
you said target sale price. Is that the target sale price that the current owner is asking, or is that for if you decide to resell it?
So let's say you resell it at that price, and let's say, because on this calculator, I can't really, I can't put it at 0. I have to put it at least 1%. Oh shoot, hold on. So down payment, let's say it would be like, oh shoot, hold on one second. Yeah, so let's say 100%.
What I'm saying is, why would you sell it at 140 if that's what you purchased it at 140?
Well, I mean, hopefully you can get them down, right? Plus, so like if he were to wrap it for you and he said, I want 140, but I'll give you 2 years, you'd be trying to sell the purchase price. Well, you could do it 2 different ways. You could sell it exactly at the same number and then receive your money on the front end from a down payment. Or you could also try to bump the number up and give it, sell for 150. So this is kind of called like a sandwich where you can make some on the front, possibly some interest in the middle, and then when they go to pay it out at the end, you would make some money as well. But it really, like, there's so many different ways you can structure. That's why hypothetical is really hard, because it really just depends what he wants, right? So unfortunately, you got to go back to the guy. I mean, and figure that out, right? But so if you sold for 150 and someone paid cash, and they didn't even want it, and they decide like this is like, obviously if you bought it cash, right? I'm looking at that from the first, want to see like what would a cash flow potentially. So like there would be good cash flow if somebody paid cash for it. But if the target sales price was, let's say he wants 5%. So then somebody would have to come up with what is that? That's $7,500 to get into the deal, and then they would owe 150 if this was the agreement that you set with them outside of the one you had with them, right? Because you'd be trying to wrap it and sell a different rate in a different. It depends how you structure the resale, but yeah, these numbers could work. It just depends on what kind. It all really just depends on what he's willing to do, and for how long. So once you have that information, and what he's comfortable with, then you just go back and forth and plug and play the numbers and go, okay, I could maybe come up, if I'm going to go up on my interest, you want to go down on your down payment, and the more money that they want down, then the more control you have to have. So if he's like, I want 50,000, well, that's like crazy a number, right? But then to say, well, yeah, I can give 50,000, but I need to hold this for 10 years. I need principal only payments. I'm going to be the first lien holder, all this other stuff, so I'm willing. So you can basically do anything, but it's all about like, hey, if I give you your price, then you got to give me my term. You got to give me my terms, and your terms also include, all types of nuances in the paperwork, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to sell it, because no one's going to pay 50,000, right? So that's why it's so important to know, like, what would he even feel comfortable with a down payment. That's the appeal of a creative offer, or to sell something on creative terms, is that, man, I can get into this property for, it's worth 180 maybe, and I only got to come up with 15 to get in it, and it's got a tenant in it, and I'm going to cash flow, $250 right off the bat, or $300 right off the bat. Because again, the paperwork matters, because the end user, like, if they're not going to be the first lien holder, then, which in this case, it sounds like that would be a no for this guy, right? He owns it free and clear. So he's probably not going to, he probably doesn't have a reason to sell it, right? Unless it's going to be really aggressive for him, meaning you're either paying crazy interest, which maybe you could. It's all about, is there cash flow in the middle? Let me see if I can, let me see if this app, I have an app on my phone that would be helpful for you, but so an easy calculator, let me see if easy calculator. I don't want to download this right now, but you can download this right here. This is called Easy Calculators. It's free. Let me see if I can join this. Let me see if I can join from my iPhone. Hold on one second. maybe it might just be faster to download this. So yeah, this thing is great. If you want to run numbers, you got to have this thing. And it's easier because this is a seller finance deal. So, or I'm sorry, it's a seller carryback, meaning he owns it free and clear. So let's see. Let me see. So you want to go to the loan calculator. You guys can see this, right?
I can see it.
Cool. So let's say you just say he agrees on 140, okay? And he says, I want 5%. I want $10,000 down. So then your loan amount with him would be 130. If you did 0 interest, then this would be a principal only. You want to amortize it on a 30-year note always. And then you calculate it. So it's saying that your monthly payment to him at 0 interest, principal only, would be $361. So then that's all you owe him. So now the person, if it's renting at $1,250, right? You'd be cash flowing, wouldn't be exactly $1,250 minus $361, right? Because you got taxes and insurance and other stuff. And but this would be a great deal if it rents for $1,250. Let's say he says, I want, 5%. Okay. Even at 5%, $697, still pretty good cash flow there. And then you look at the amortization, right? And you say, okay. He says, okay, I'll give you 24 months. So then you would owe him at that time $126. So you would have paid it down $4,000. So in this scenario, if you were going to sell it on terms, right? He's giving you this at 3%, 130. So you have it at 10,000 down. So if you wanted to make money, then you would have to sell it to somebody, right? At above 140, obviously. And then you could also charge them more interest than what he's asking, so that they're, or they would just pay you a fee to get out of the way. It depends. But if you wanted to keep it, it just really depends, right? There's a lot of different exit strategies, but on paper, this is a seemingly good deal. And the longer, the better, right? So let's say if you wanted to keep this, right? Like I was saying earlier, let's say you were going to keep this. So you're at it at 110. And let's say the $10,000, he lets you put it towards the 10,000 you needed. So you really just spent 10,000 and you improve the property. So now it's worth more, right? And he said, I'll give you, let's go back here. Let's go back. And he said, I'll do it for 3%. So then you say, okay, great. So you give him you fix it up for 10,000. Now you only owe him 130. He's going to give you 3 years. He wants 3% interest. So you're going to pay him pay him $548 a month. You keep what's in the middle. And then you have the tenant in there. And let's say after, the 24 months are up, you're down to this balance. But now you have the ability to sell the property. So you've collected that money in the middle. You spent 10. So you didn't make that money, right? You had to have 10 to burn. And now the house is worth $200,000. Well, you only owe him $124,48.95. So now when you go to sell it, so let's say the lease is up, you get them out. Maybe you need to put more money into it at that time, right? He might have wrecked it up, maybe another 10K. So you may have another 10K, possibly. but then you would make the difference if you sell this for 200, right? Obviously minus fees to the realtor, or if you do a flat fee, whatever those fees are. But that's how you make money on these deals, right? I mean, they say you make money when you buy something, but that's the expression in real estate. But what they're saying is that you buy it smart, and then when you sell it, hopefully this is appreciated, right? And now you have $70,000 coming your way, and you were cash flowing a little bit in the middle. So that's the appeal of a seller finance deal, right? So you have to put yourself in those shoes, right? So you have to run these numbers every single time and figure out if it makes sense. I mean, probably most people in that area are probably going to want to make $500 cash flow a month. So 3% at 130 is about probably the most you would want to do, just to give you an idea. Now, maybe he wants to, so it's all different scenarios. But was that helpful at all for you?
So my biggest thing is that I'm just unfamiliar with exactly how to really talk to and negotiate with the seller. Like I said, he has some motivation. He's willing to look into it. It's just the fact of what to say exactly to really come across accurately with the numbers. And
the only thing you can say is like you're not negotiating, right? But really you're just presenting options. Now the only way you can really present options that make sense are to know, why am I selling? What's he going to do with the money? So that's why we stress to know, hey man, what's this guy's timeline? When does he need this money by? What's he going to do with the money?
I'll find out. He really didn't give me any real indication why he was selling. He just said that he has the property he said he had it for 15 years or so, and he's just, I guess, ready to move on.
Yeah. Well,
So
it's like, what is it? It's like, does he want $20,000 because he's gonna, he has debt? Does he want to go on a vacation, right? Does he want to buy a car? I don't know, right? You just
I'll find out.
Yeah.
I'll try to dig a little deeper.
And I understand, because it is difficult. You're like, wow, what exactly would I say? Well, the answer is what do you say are the facts? And say, hey, this is what I can do. Are you comfortable, right? And then you work from there, right? Like, I'd love to be at 0 interest. Like, I'll give you this amount of money a month, right? And then I'll pay you out.
Are you going to be available in the Discord?
Yeah, tag me. Yeah.
I'm going to try it again. The only reason is because I just got to take a call right quick. But
okay.
If I can talk to the seller and see if I can reach you in the Discord just to see if you can help give me some more guidance, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, because again, the best information is real information, right? So we can really structure a deal. But yeah,
I got you.
Because again, this is hypothetical. These make sense, on paper. It seems like it's possibly a good one. I would think, but if they don't, if they're not really easily disclosing why they're selling and stuff, it's usually just, he's like, yeah, make me an offer, make me an offer. Well, okay. But I would always go for cash first, right? First make the cash offer. So make him decline your cash offer. So
I'll do that.
So you said it's 175, right?
Yeah, about that. You can say that. You can. That's a fair number to say for ARV.
Okay. So it's okay. You're like, okay, well, what he wants 140. You're not paying cash. If you were going to flip it, right? I would give him a number that makes sense. So it's like, hey man, I really need this thing at, 95,000 if you were going to flip it or whatever. If you're going to flip it, you probably need to put more into it, probably double.
Okay.
But it's like, whatever, make him decline the cash offer. That's how you get to a creative offer. It's like, hey, listen, I got this money. I'm ready to make this happen. If I'm going to buy it from you outright, I need it for this price. No, I can't do that. Well, why? Why can't you do that? I'm not that urgent. I don't need the money that bad. Okay, you don't need the money. So make him say, I don't need the money that bad, or I don't want to give it away. All right, well, would you be open to taking some now, some later? And you already said that to me, right?
Yeah, we definitely did.
But I would still go back and say, hey, listen, I really want to buy it. This is my offer. No, I can't do that. Okay, let's talk about other strategies. then structure it. Because
I got you.
if you just go for creative, like then it's like fun for them. They're like, oh yeah, come up with an offer so I can turn it down. It's like, no, you've declined my cash. There's a reason for you to decline it. You want to save on taxes. You want to do this, you want to do that. Okay, let's structure something.
Got it.
All right. Let's go.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll try to reach you on the Discord if anything, if hopefully you're available.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you for your time and your help.
Absolutely. See
All
you
right,
guys.
sir.